Namaskar, Nileshok here. In this episode, we will discuss how Adhika-masa is inserted. How do we decide when to insert the Adhika-masa and how to name that particular Adhika-masa? I'm calling this Adhika-masa on autopilot. Naturally, people will immediately ask, what is Adhika-masa on autopilot? This is a good demonstration of Hindu innovation at work. And explains an automated plan, okay? And I'm calling therefore a secret in the sense we don't have to do anything if we know how to perform the calculations. And then anyone can look at those calculations and decide when to insert the Adhika-masa and how to give a proper name to that Adhika-masa. This is the method that is followed in our times. Now, it is attributed to one Sripati. Sripati was an Indian astronomer and mathematician, and also a Jyotishi. Jyotishi in the sense of astronomy, but also astrology, of the 11th century CE, Common Era, so about 1,000 years ago. He wrote many texts on astronomy, mathematics, and astrology. These subjects are closely connected, and their development happened over thousands and thousands of years in India for very pragmatic reasons of abhyudaya, prosperity. The current method for the insertion of Adhika-masa in the Indian lunisolar calendar is attributed to him. What is not clear is if Sripati invented this method or if the oldest surviving documentation of this method is due to him. That is to say, the documentation of how to insert this, because he noted down in one of his texts, and that's how we know it. It's not clear whether he invented it or he was simply documenting an ancient method. And if so, when did this method exactly began is not known to us. Either it began with Sripati as his own invention, or he was simply documenting it. This provides a quick background of why this method works. To come up with such an innovation, the calculations that I'm describing here must be understood. Let's begin with the length of solar year. It's 365 days. Lunar year is 354 days. Now, these 354 days consist of what? 12 lunar months and therefore 12 Amavasyas. Also keep it in mind that Amavasya occurs, which is like lunar month. The length of a lunar month on an average is 29.5 days. The next one, we should consider that as point number 4. I made some mistake while typing. So where we begin in 3 years, imagine this as a point number 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So in 3 years now, why 3 years? Because remember, the Adhika-masa gets inserted on an average every 2.7 years. So for the sake of simplicity, I'm showing the calculation with the 3-year time period, 3 solar years. So in 3 years, which is to say 365 times 3, that's 1,095 days, which corresponds to, of course, 36 solar months, 12 times 3, we'll have 10,095 days divided by 29.5 days, which is the average time for Amavasya to occur, it gives us 37 Amavasyas. So 36 solar months on an average will give us 37 Amavasyas. This means within a period of 3 years, one Rashi or one solar month will have 2 Amavasyas. Now, this is the automated location for the insertion of Adhika-masa. So, whenever 2 Amavasyas occur within a period of one solar month or one Rashi, that is the location for the insertion of Adhika-masa. Notice, we are using the 30-degree Rashi, 30-degree zodiac as a proxy for a 30-degree solar month. It's important you understand this switchover. Now, naturally, someone would have this curiosity, oh, okay, why is that? If you're asking the question, you are not ready for an answer, okay? Or ready for a complicated answer, let's say. The simple answer then is nakshatra system or the Rashi system, 27 nakshatra system of 360 degrees, or 12 Rashi system of exactly the same 360 degrees provide us a reference grade to note down various things. The motion, the celestial motions of the planets, the sun, the moon, but also when some of these calendrical changes takes place. For example, when the solar month is over, when the lunar month is over, and so on. So therefore, for Adhika-masa purposes, Adhika-masa calculation, the Rashi, the zodiac boundaries are used as proxy for the solar month. Okay, keep that in mind. So what is the formula? What is the method? When the sun does not at all transit into a new Rashi, but simply keeps moving within a Rashi in a lunar month, then the lunar month will be named according to the first upcoming transit. It will also take the name, take the epithet Adhika or extra, that is to say, we'll call this Adhika-masa. Now, this can become complicated. What's going on? In a simple language, and of course, we're going to look at the demonstration, but in a simple language, within a span of 30 degrees in a solar month or its proxy, that's what we're going to use, a Rashi or a zodiac, again of 30 degrees. If there is an occurrence of 2 Amavasyas, which is to say the entire lunar month is contained within those 30 degrees of the Rashi, then that is the point. When that happens, that is the point, that is the time, that is the location where this Adhika-masa is inserted. All right. If you understood this, great. If not, therefore, we are going to do a demonstration. But keep this in mind. The demonstration is the pratyaksha aspect of it. What we just discussed here is the agama aspect of it, the background knowledge, the mathematical computations, understanding the motions of the moon, motions of the sun, their variations. That's agama. And then we have to connect the dots through anumana. That's why Maharshi Patanjali says, Pratyaksha, Anumana, Agama, Pramanani. Any one is not sufficient, may not be sufficient. Definitely in this case, it is not at all sufficient. We need all three. Pratyaksha, Anumana, Agama, Pramanani. Now, what do we do if we don't have expertise in all three? Well, sometimes Pratyaksha is useful, but Pratyaksha alone won't be useful. Agama is necessary, but Agama alone is not useful or may not be useful. Anumana by itself may not be useful, and somebody may not have an ability, okay, to understand each one of these or three together and connect the dots. Then we need a Shraddha. We also need a Tapasya. But with Bhagavad Kripa, anything is possible. And how do we get Bhagavad Kripa? The spiritual answer, the Adhyatmic answer is you get Bhagavad Kripa because of Bhagavad Kripa. So all you can do is keep trying, keep putting efforts. And one day the magic happens. For some people, faster than others. All right. If you want to know additional information, the basics of astronomy, and of course, their applications, wonderful applications in timestamping our Itihasa. You can read 3 books of mine. Immediately you talk of Mahabharata dating, Ramayana dating, then the colossal confusion of Yuga begins. So therefore, this dating combo is very required. That includes the Yuganta by Jeevan Rao, available through Subbu publications in India and around the world. If you are outside India, you can order from Subbu publications, and you can also go to Amazon and you can get all these 3 books. And of course, in some places, their translations. We will jump to the demonstration of what we just discussed. Let's begin with our basic setup of Earth at the center. It's inclined to the ecliptic, that is the orbit of the sun as seen from the Earth. We have sun and moon in the Amavasya position, that is as seen from the Earth, they are together. And let's recall, we looked at the solar months, 12 solar months. The solar year begins at the point of vernal equinox, okay? The first month, that is the second month of Vasanta season. Let's write down the seasons here, Vasanta season, okay? And it goes and completes the year with next point of vernal equinox. We also looked at the solar months, their names from Hindu antiquity. These names can be found in many ancient texts, such as say Taittiriya Samhita, for example. Now, what we are also going to do, keep in mind that the Sripati's method makes use of the Rashi instead of the solar month. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of the solar names first. I'm going to superimpose the boundaries of a Rashi. And this picture has already become busy. So what I'm going to do is remove the solar lines now, remove the cardinal lines, remove the seasons. So now we are left with 12 Rashi. Okay, and I'll add the 12 zodiac names. Now, by convention, we can say the current Panchanga, and now there are exceptions to this. For example, something known as a Tiraka Panchanga. Okay, Tiraka Panchanga, that name comes after Lokmanya Tirak. Will not go into the history of it. That could be a 2-hour long class, just the Tiraka Panchanga versus Nirnay Sagar Panchanga. But the most widely used Panchang in India and agreed upon by convention, it's good to know where does the Kanya Rashi ends, which is here Virgo, and where does the Tula Rashi or Libra begins. This particular point coincides, I'm going to add the nakshatra name to make this clear, coincides with the Yogatara Chitra. For Chitra Nakshatra, the Yogatara is called Spika. And where that position of Spika is, that's where the Tula Rashi begins. Okay, so then it's easy because from that point you add up 30 degrees and that's the area of a Tula Rashi. You go further 30 degrees, that is the area of a Vrishchika Rashi. Further 30 degrees, that's the area of a Dhanu Rashi. So on, you go through 30 degrees times 12, 360 degrees, and that will bring you back to this point of Chitra. The point that is 180 degree opposite to this Yogatara of Chitra, its modern name is Spica in Western astronomy. So exactly 180 degree opposite to that, whatever that point is, that is considered the beginning point of a Mesha Rashi here. Okay. All right. For now, I'm going to remove the nakshatras. Now keep the rule in mind. Okay. So we are going to start from this point of vernal equinox. We are going to now use the Rashi boundaries as a proxy for the solar months. So forget solar months, okay? And decide when a lunar month is contained completely within a given Rashi. Okay, so let's begin. You'll get an idea what I mean by that. I will slow it down a little bit so that you know what's going on here. Okay. Okay, so Moon is going around the Earth in about 29.5 days from Amavasya to Amavasya. So what does that mean? Again, just to repeat. So here, for example, this is Amavasya, close, either the here or here, okay? So this one is Amavasya. And if you look at right now in this Karka Rashi, so the first Amavasya is occurring here in Karka Rashi. So this is where the new lunar month begins. Okay, so let's continue. Now notice what happens. When does the next Amavasya occurs? By the time the next Amavasya occurred, the sun had already crossed the Karka Rashi. Okay, so in Karka Rashi, there was only one Amavasya. Same thing is right now happening in the Simva Rashi. There is one Amavasya. Okay, let's continue to see if the second Amavasya occurs within the Simva Rashi, and the answer is no. By the time the next Amavasya occurred, sun has already crossed from Simva Rashi to Kanya Rashi. That crossing from one Rashi to another is called the Sankranta, okay, that we refer to as a Makar Sankranta, for example. We will not discuss Makar Sankranta so that we won't digress here. But crossing of a sun from one Rashi to another Rashi is called a Sankranta. So in this case, it would be Kanya Sankranta that just occurred here, okay? Or let me show you, like at this point here, okay, when sun crosses from Kanya to Tula, we will call this Tula Sankranta and so on, okay? But again, back to focusing on our Adhika-masa. What we want to note down is the occurrence of Amavasya. So right now, sun is in the Dhanu Rashi. This Amavasya occurred, so new lunar month begins. Now we want to notice if another Amavasya occurs in the Dhanu Rashi itself. The answer is no. Because before we come to the next Amavasya right here, sun has already crossed Dhanu Rashi and entered Makara Rashi. Okay, that was that point of Makara Sankranta, so to say. So we continue. Keep in mind, we are looking for that particular occasion when entire lunar month is contained within a Rashi. Okay. And how do we notice that? Notice something like this. For example, right now, the sun is still in the Mesha Rashi. So let's go slow. It's still in the Mesha Rashi. Now it is on the border. We will consider that still as a Mesha Rashi. But now here, it has already went to the next Rashi, Vrishabha Rashi. So when this Amavasya occurs, it is not occurring in the Mesha Rashi. Okay, so Mesha Rashi only had one Amavasya. So now we will slow down every time Amavasya occurs. So let's look at this here. We already have one in Vrishabh. Now, do we get the second? The answer is no, because before we reached the Amavasya day, Sun has already transited to Mithuna Rashi. Fine. But the situation is getting to a point where we would see two Amavasyas occurring within a given Rashi. Okay, let's see. So go slow. Okay, so still Sun is in the Mithuna Rashi. Now it is at the border. And we can say that before the Amavasya occurred, like here, so this Amavasya, is it part of Mithun or is it part of Karka? I'm going to take this as a part of a Karka. Okay, it's not very clear here, but if you look at the line here, the line has already crossed the boundary. So I am going to count this as first Amavasya within Karka Rashi. So now the question is, does the second Amavasya occurs before Sun transits to the next Rashi? Okay, and the answer is yes. Okay, so here it hasn't crossed yet, by the way, but if I go one step back, it will be even much more clear. Okay, so here, right here, I got Amavasya. So which means in the Karka Rashi, when Sun was within Karka Rashi, we had the entire lunar month contained within it because we had two Amavasyas there. Now, let's add the nakshatra system. So how do we decide? So this is where we are going to insert the Adhika-masa. How do we name it? To figure out the name of it, that complex language that was used, that was from Wikipedia that I copied. Okay, I have to go back to look at the moon. And why am I going back? Okay, so this is the full moon near nakshatra Shravana. So we will call the this first lunar month occurring within the Karka Rashi as the Adhika Shravana. And the next month will be Nija Shravana, or the regular Shravana, normal Shravana, natural Shravana, Shravan. Okay. But why did I come back to this? Well, the reason is, if I go back until this previous Amavasya, notice this Amavasya occurred in the Karka Rashi. So now from mathematical calculation, somebody could have computed that, guess what? When Sun goes to Karka Rashi, we will have two Amavasyas within Karka Rashi based on very refined computations. That's how Panchanga makers do it. So in that case, the lunar month that is going to occur in 15 days from that Amavasya, the first Amavasya, and we note down its location of the full moon. Location of full moon is near Nakshatra Shravan. So let's assume that is a lunar month of Shravan. So Shravan will be considered Adhika-masa. For fun and for a reality check, guys, this is year 2023 and it doesn't have to everything match. But lo and behold, as it happens, you can go look at your Panchanga for year 2023. And some of you may remember that this year, Shravan was the Adhika-masa. Shravan was indeed the Adhika-masa. One of the reasons is that this occurred because remember when we started on the first day of the solar year, like, at the vernal equinox, both Sun and Moon were together. It was a day of Amavasya. Now, that doesn't happen every year. But it so happened in this year, 2023. So think of this as a 21st of March, 2023. It was the day of a Yugadi, day of a Gudi, not Yugadi, the Ugadi, the day of a Gudi Padwa, the first day of a Chaitra Shukla Chaitra, so that Chaitra Shukla Pratipada. And it also happened to be the first day of the solar year, the spring equinox. So those are the coordinates. Those are the positions that we started with. And so not surprised that we are getting this Shravan as a Adhika-mas. So this particular month with the Purnima here will be called a Adhika Shravan. And then what happens, I'll just show you for one. So this is Amavasya which occurred within Karka. And now what does that mean? Keep in mind. So Simha Rashi did not have Amavasya yet. Okay, that's fine. But now when this full moon happens, we are going to call this Nija Shravan, normal Shravan, natural Shravan. And the next month we will count it as a Bhadrapad. So notice here we counted as if two Shravan, one Adhika Shravan, one Nija Shravan, normal Shravan. So that is the insertion of a Adhika-masa. There are 12 names to the lunar months: Chaitra, Vaishak, Jeshta, Ashad, Shravan, Bhadrapad, Ashwin, Kartik, Margashirsha, Paush, Magh, Falgun. And in this case, we call two lunar months next to each other as Shravan. One Adhika Shravan, next is a Nija Shravan, normal Shravan, natural Shravan. That's what we mean by insertion of Adhika-masa. And this is going to fix the problem that I described in the other episode. If we don't add the Adhika-masa, very soon, within 3 to 4 years, 3+ years, we are going to lose the pratyaksha connection of seeing the full moon in the sky, noting down the nakshatra behind it, and using that to name the month. If you notice what happened, when we went 4 years or so, 4, 5 years, without the insertion of Adhika-masa, the full moon was near nakshatra Magha, and we were forced to call it the lunar month of Chaitra, because we refused to insert Adhika-masa. Okay, so that's why I'm bringing this point back to you. Okay, let me just remove the nakshatra. And of course, now what happens? Well, it just continues. Okay, we continue this until we get another instance. Just to give you a visual feel for this, this is what happens. Notice when the moon crosses the sun. I will stop it, okay, at some point, such as say here. So what happened? The Amavasya occurred before sun crossed that Rashi line, okay? So this is the Amavasya occurring in Dhanu. Where is it occurring? Almost at the border of Dhanu and Makara, okay? So keep that in mind, okay? It's towards the end of that period within any given Rashi. However, as the time progresses, you will realize that that point gets moved backwards. Okay. Why backwards? Because remember, the Amavasya is occurring on an average every 29.5 days. On the other hand, sun takes anywhere from 29 to 32 days to transit through any given Rashi. So sun is going to take anywhere from 29 to 32 days, or you can say on an average 30+ days. Remember, it has to travel through 360 degrees in 365 days. So somewhere it's going to take longer to cross the 30-degree time period. So as the time progresses, you will see the point of Amavasya within a Rashi space starts occurring earlier and earlier, because Amavasya occurs faster, on an average every 29.5 days, whereas sun takes longer, on an average 30+ days to cross through one Rashi. And so soon we will have another situation, another episode where two Amavasyas would occur within a one Rashi space. Okay, so I'll slow down here. So let's say if you want to know, okay, what is happening here? Okay, sun has already crossed Vrishchika Rashi. Okay, so we just let it go. So which means what? So this Amavasya will be considered as part of Dhanu Rashi. So the question to ask is, will the second Amavasya occur within the Dhanu Rashi itself? And here the answer is no, because before moon came to the sun's position, Amavasya position, sun has already transited into the next Rashi. Okay, so this is one, fine, and just we keep on going. But now we have a reason to monitor the situation just for a verbal demonstration, visual demonstration here. Okay. Sun has already crossed the Rashi. So this won't be the time for Adhika-masa, but it's approaching. Okay. It's getting closer and closer. So therefore I slow down when it comes time for Amavasya. Okay. So where is it? Is this Amavasya considered part of the Meena Nakshatra? No. Meena Rashi? No. So we are going to count this, or do we count it? Okay. So if we count this as no, let me go back here. Okay. So this is right on. Okay. So if you count this, you may count it. Okay. This is only a visual crude demonstration. The actual mathematical calculation tell you when the Amavasya began, and when it began, what was the position of the sun, and so on and so forth. But the point is, if we count this as part of, say, not the mean Rashi. So if we count this as part of the Mesha Rashi, okay, so let me do this one. So if we count this as a part of Mesha Rashi, fine. Just remember, we got our first Amavasya in the Mesha. So now we must check if the second Amavasya also occurs in the Mesha before it crosses the boundary of a Rashi. And the answer is yes. So in this case, okay, when two Amavasyas now occurred within a span of a Mesha Rashi, okay, and we want to note down, so this is a time for insertion of a Adhika-masa again. And how do we decide which Adhika-masa? Well, we go back by 15 days approximately to note down the position of the full moon. This is full moon point here, and note down the nakshatra. Nakshatra is Swati, which means very likely either this is a lunar month of Chaitra or lunar month of Vaishak. So this time, remember previously, the previous round, we had Adhika-masa as Adhika Shravan. In this case, it would be either Adhika Chaitra or Adhika Vaishak. That's how this system works. And we call this Adhika-masa on autopilot. Now, I am calling it Adhika-masa on autopilot. Okay, I can trademark that, Adhika-masa on autopilot, but the credit goes to Sripati. Okay, or if he was simply documenting it, goes to our great Hindu rishis of the past who made use of the realities of the celestial world, okay, as seen from the terra, the earth, and made a very innovative application of these nitya motions, okay, the existing motions, very predictable motions. These are nitya motions, and turn them into nimitta, turn them into specific instances, nimitta, to timestamp, when to insert Adhika-mas and how to name that specific Adhika-mas. And almost they made the process automated in the sense of anyone can follow the simple calculations and decide when the next Adhika-masa would occur. Predict. Next, not decide, predict when the next Adhika-masa would occur and what would be its name in the scheme of 12 lunar months. That's it, guys. In the next part in this series, whenever I get chance to do it, we will make use of more sophisticated and precise astronomy software such as Voyager 4.5, and we will validate some of the Adhika-masa given in our Panchanga, our calendar, for say last, I don't know, 3-4 years, 4-5 years. And then we will also look at maybe 2-3 future Adhika-masa that were going to occur. So we may start with 2023 and go for next 2 or 3 Adhika-masa instances and see how that matches what is shown in our Panchanga, such as say Nirnay Sagar Panchang, Date Panchang, drukpanchang.com, Bharat Dinadarshika. Now, Bharat Dinadarshika doesn't show the future predictions. It's not a Panchanga per se. It just shows the details for the day. But if you look at Date Panchang, if you look at drukpanchang.com, you can actually look at the future calendars for future years and note down the Adhika-masa. In fact, I would encourage you to do just that, okay, before getting ready for the next episode, where actually we will use astronomy sophisticated precise software such as Voyager 4.5 and actually validate the Adhika-masa, validate Adhika-masa for the Adhika-masa that has occurred in the past 2, 3, 4 years, and also look at the predicted Adhika-masa in the next 3 years. Please write your comments. Please be strict with what you comment to a given video. Stay on the point. So if the subject is Adhika-masa, stick to that point. Ask your questions, make your comments related to that specific subject. Namaskar.